The courtroom doors burst open at 3:15 p.m., and 24-year-old Dylan Brennan walked in as if he were stepping into a nightclub. Distressed designer jeans, True Religion, easily $300, paired with a Gucci hoodie worth no less than $800. His limited edition Nike Air Jordans squeaked loudly against the marble floor. 3 friends followed behind him, dressed the same way, all clearly wishing they were somewhere else. Dylan was glued to his phone, lazily scrolling Instagram, flashing his screen to his friends and making them laugh out loud. The bailiff had to demand silence twice. Dylan barely glanced up, waved his hand dismissively, and kept his phone out. Before we get into what unfolded in that courtroom, if you believe in justice and want to support a new channel dedicated to sharing powerful real-life stories, please hit subscribe and like this video. Every subscription helps bring more of Judge Caprio's wisdom to the world. The bailiff called the case. The People vs. Dylan Thomas Brennan. Case number 2024 TRF13 Ford. Charges: driving under the influence, reckless driving, failure to obey traffic signals, and endangerment. Total fines, $3,200, with possible license suspension. Dylan smirked toward his friends. One of them muttered, "This is such a waste of time." Judge Frank Caprio looked up from his paperwork. In his 37 years on the bench, he had seen entitled young defendants before. But there was something especially grating about Dylan's attitude, the casual disrespect, the assumption that none of this truly mattered. "Mr. Brennan, please approach the bench and put your phone away." Dylan sighed theatrically, finished whatever he was looking at on his screen, then strolled forward slowly. He didn't pocket the phone, just let it hang loosely in his hand, the screen still glowing. "Mr. Brennan, I said put the phone away." Yeah, I heard you." Dylan finally shoved it into his pocket. "Can we make this quick? I've got plans tonight." His attorney, a young man named Kevin Park who looked deeply uneasy, stepped forward. "Your Honor, my client, Your Honor," Dylan interrupted. "Before we waste everybody's time, you should probably know who I am." The courtroom went silent. "I'm Dylan Brennan. My father is Mayor Thomas Brennan. If you just call his office, I'm sure we can straighten this out and I can get out of here." Even Dylan's friends stopped whispering. Judge Caprio's expression didn't change. "Mr. Brennan, your father's position has no relevance in this courtroom. Now, according to Officer Williams's report from October 19 at 11:45 p.m., you were traveling 70 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour zone on Westminster Street. You ran 2 red lights, weaved between lanes, and failed a field sobriety test with a blood alcohol content of 0.12, well above the legal limit of 0.08. Is that accurate?" Dylan shrugged. "I had a couple drinks at a party. I wasn't drunk. I was totally in control. That breathalyzer was probably broken. You registered as 0.12 BAC. Whatever. Those things aren't accurate anyway. Look, Your Honor, I messed up. I should have taken an Uber, but I'm a good kid. I'm in grad school. I've got a future. This was just one night that got a little out of hand. Can't we just do a fine or something and move on?" Judge Caprio leaned back. "Tell me about that night, Mr. Brennan." "I was at my friend Tyler's place. Birthday party." "How much did you drink?" "I don't know. 4 or 5 beers, some shots." "It's a party, Your Honor. That's what people do. And then you chose to drive. My apartment's like 10 minutes away. I've driven after drinking before. Lots of people have. I was fine." His attorney grabbed his arm and whispered urgently, but Dylan shook him off. "Relax, Kevin. The judge understands. He was young once, right?" Judge Caprio remained calm, dangerously calm. "Were you alone in the car?" "No. Tyler, Marcus, and Jamie were with me. They're here." He gestured to the gallery. "So you drove intoxicated with 3 passengers. They were drunk too." "Everybody was drunk. You drove 70 miles per hour, ran red lights, and weaved through traffic while intoxicated with 3 intoxicated passengers." "When you say it like that, it sounds worse than it was. We were just having fun. The streets were empty. It's not like I was going to hit anyone." That's when everything changed. Judge Caprio picked up a tablet. "Mr. Brennan, were you and your friends using your phones during this drive?" Dylan hesitated. Maybe. I don't really remember." "Let me help you remember." Officer Williams included screenshots from Instagram stories posted on your account that night. Providence Police social media monitoring flagged them. "Shall we review them?" Dylan's face drained of color. His attorney looked stunned. "Bailiff, display Exhibit A." The screen lit up a first image, Dylan behind the wheel of a BMW 3 Series, phone raised, speedometer clearly visible, 68 miles per hour. Timestamp, 11:38 p.m., October 19 th. Second image, caption, "Who needs Uber when you got skills?" Third, a friend in the passenger seat holding a beer bottle, laughing. Caption, "Boys' night." Rules don't apply. A fourth, Dylan filming himself blasting through a red light while a friend shouted, "Do it, do it." Caption: red means go when you're this legendary. The courtroom buzzed with disbelief. Dylan stood motionless, face burning red. Judge Caprio wasn't finished, there's more. Officer Williams also submitted dashcam and bodycam footage. Let's play it. The dashcam video showed the BMW swerving between lanes, narrowly missing a parked car, then flying through a red light at a busy intersection. Cross-traffic slammed on brakes to avoid a collision. Tires screeched. Then the bodycam footage. "Good evening, sir. License and registration." Dylan's slurred voice echoed. "Dude, seriously? We're just trying to get home. I clocked you at 70 and a 40, and you ran that red light. Have you been drinking tonight? Maybe a little. So what? I'm fine to drive. Sir, please step out of the vehicle. Do you know who I am? I'm Dylan Brennan. My dad is the mayor. Mayor Thomas Brennan. You really want to do this?" Officer Williams stayed calm and professional. "Sir, your father's position does not change the fact that you're driving under the influence. Step out of the vehicle now." What happened next stunned the courtroom even further. On the video, Dylan staggered as he got out of the car, visibly intoxicated. His friends were filming on their phones, laughing loudly. One of them shouted, "Yo, Dylan, tell him who you are." Dylan pointed at the officer. "My dad runs this city. He signs your paychecks. You're making a huge mistake, bro." "Sir, I'm going to administer a field sobriety test. This is such bullshit. I should call my dad right now and have you transferred to parking enforcement or something." The footage showed Dylan failing the field sobriety test, unable to walk in a straight line, unable to balance on one foot. When Officer Williams administered the breathalyzer, Dylan blew a 0.12. "Mr. Brennan, you're under arrest for driving under the influence. You're going to regret this. Seriously. My dad is going to hear about this and you're done. Your career is over." The video ended. The courtroom lights came back up. Dylan stood at the defense table, fists clenched, his face a mix of humiliation and fury. If Judge Caprio's compassion moves you the way it moves millions of others, please support our channel by subscribing. We're just getting started, and your support truly matters. Judge Caprio placed the tablet down and studied Dylan for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, but it carried absolute authority. "Mr. Brennan, let me be clear about what I just saw. You drove drunk at nearly twice the speed limit. You ran multiple red lights. You nearly caused a serious collision. You endangered 3 passengers. You posted it on social media like it was a joke. And then you threatened a police officer who was doing his job. Is that correct?" Dylan's jaw tightened. "I was just messing around. We were having fun. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got hurt because you were lucky. You came within feet of hitting another vehicle at that intersection. The driver who slammed on her brakes to avoid you was Patricia Chen, 67 years old, a nurse at Rhode Island Hospital. She told Officer Williams she thought she was going to die. She spent 3 hours in the emergency room being treated for a panic attack. She hasn't driven at night since. But you were having fun, so I suppose that excuses it." Dylan said nothing. "And your friends, Tyler, Marcus, and Jamie, you put them in that car while intoxicated and drove recklessly. What if you had crashed? What if you had killed them or someone else? Would that still have been fun? Your Honor, I get it. Okay? I messed up. I'll pay the fine. Can we just— You think this is about money?" Judge Caprio's voice rose slightly. "You drove drunk. You endangered lives. You broadcasted it online like a badge of honor. And when a police officer intervened, you threatened him and hid behind your father's name." Dylan's attorney stepped forward. "Your Honor, my client is deeply remorseful, is he?" Judge Caprio asked, turning back to Dylan. "Mr. Brennan, are you remorseful, or are you simply angry that you were caught?" Dylan's face twisted. "You know what? This whole thing is ridiculous. Everyone drives after a few drinks. Everyone speeds. Everyone runs red lights sometimes. But because my dad is the mayor, suddenly I'm being made an example. You're doing this because of who my family is." "No, Mr. Brennan," Judge Caprio replied evenly. "I'm holding you to the same standard as anyone else who drives drunk and endangers lives. The difference is that you believe your father's position should shield you from consequences. My family built this city. We've served Providence for 3 generations. We deserve respect. Respect is earned," Judge Caprio said calmly. "It is not inherited. And driving drunk while mocking law enforcement on social media is not how respect is earned." Dylan exploded. "This is a joke. You're just some old judge who doesn't understand how the world works anymore. My dad knows the governor. He knows senators. One phone call and you'll be off this bench. I'm the mayor's son. This city belongs to my family. The courtroom erupted. Dylan's attorney looked horrified. His friend sat frozen. Judge Caprio stood, something he rarely did, and his voice cut through the noise like steel. Mr. Brennan, I've been on this bench for 37 years. I've seen many people stand where you are. Some come with humility. Others come with arrogance, believing money or connections place them above the law. You are firmly in the second group. He sat back down. The standard fine would be $3,200. But because of your lack of remorse, your threats to a police officer, your endangerment of passengers, and your contempt in this courtroom, additional penalties are warranted. Dylan's face drained of color. First, the fine is increased to $5,000. Second, your driver's license is suspended for 1 year. No work permits. No exceptions. Third, you will complete 300 hours of community service. You'll serve those hours with the Providence Department of Public Works. You will report at 5 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday for the next 18 months. You'll clean streets, gutters, and public spaces. I'm not finished. Fourth, you'll attend a victim impact panel with families who lost loved ones to drunk drivers. Fifth, you'll complete an alcohol awareness program at your own expense. And sixth, Judge Caprio said, lifting his phone, I will notify the City Ethics Commission. You used your father's public office to intimidate a police officer. That requires investigation. Dylan's face flushed purple. Now you're ratting me out to my dad's bosses? I'm ensuring accountability, Judge Caprio replied. That is not ratting. This is insane. Kevin, tell him this is insane. His attorney looked defeated. Your Honor, we will be filing an appeal. You are free to do so. Until then, my ruling stands. Mr. Brennan, you have 2 weeks to report to Public Works. Failure to comply will result in contempt and possible jail time. Do you understand? Dylan trembled with rage. My father is going to destroy you. If your father is the man I believe him to be, Judge Caprio said calmly, he will be disappointed in you, not angry at me. Court is adjourned. The gavel struck with finality. As Dylan stormed toward the exit, his friends trailing behind, Officer Williams stood near the door. Dylan tried to push past him, but the officer spoke quietly. Mr. Brennan, I hope you take this seriously. You could have taken a life that night, including your own. Dylan gave no reply. He shoved through the doors, already pulling out his phone to call his father, but what happened next caught everyone off guard. Mayor Thomas Brennan did not call the judge to complain. Instead, 3 days after the hearing, he stepped in front of cameras at a press conference. Standing at the City Hall podium, looking exhausted and heartbroken, he spoke to the media. I watched the footage of my son's arrest and his appearance in court. I am ashamed. Ashamed of his behavior. Ashamed that he used my name to threaten a police officer. Ashamed that I raised a son who believed he was above the law. His voice faltered. Judge Caprio did exactly what he was supposed to do. My son put lives at risk and showed no remorse. The penalties imposed were fair, and my son will complete every hour of his sentence. There will be no favors, no phone calls, no family interference. Dylan must learn that actions carry consequences. The mayor paused. I also want to apologize to Officer Williams, who was simply doing his job, and to the people of Providence. You deserve better from my family. The press conference spread rapidly online. People nationwide praised the mayor's integrity, but more importantly, it sent an unmistakable message to Dylan. His father was not going to rescue him. The first Saturday morning at 5 a.m., Dylan arrived at the Department of Public Works depot wearing expensive clothes. The supervisor, a hard-edged 60-year-old named Frank Martinez, handed him a bright orange safety vest and a trash grabber. Those shoes won't last. You'll need boots, and you should wear something you don't care about ruining. We're cleaning downtown today. How long is this going to take? 8 hours. We'll wrap up around 1 p.m. 8 hours? I thought it was just a couple hours picking up trash. 300 hours means 300 hours. Let's move, kid. That first day was punishing. Dylan collected cigarette butts, beer bottles, used needles, dog waste, and garbage that had been festering in gutters for weeks. His back hurt. His designer sneakers were destroyed. And everywhere he went, people recognized him. Some laughed. Some recorded videos. One elderly woman stopped and said, "Good. Maybe you'll learn something." By the third week, Dylan stopped wearing expensive clothes. He showed up in work boots and worn jeans. He stopped complaining and started observing. The homeless man who slept in the same doorway every night. The single mother walking 3 children to school each morning. The elderly veteran collecting cans to stretch his disability checkpoint. One Saturday, while cleaning near a bus stop, a young man approached him. "Hey, aren't you the mayor's son?" The one who got arrested for DUI? Dylan prepared for ridicule. Yeah. That's me. I saw the video. You were a real jerk to that cop. I know. I was completely wrong. The young man nodded. My cousin died 2 years ago. A drunk driver hit him. He was 19. So seeing you act like it was nothing really made me angry. Dylan stopped working and looked straight at him. I'm sorry. I truly am. I didn't think about it. I didn't understand what drunk driving really does to people. You get it now? Yeah. I do. 6 months into his sentence, Dylan attended the victim impact panel Judge Caprio ordered. He sat with 20 other DUI offenders and listened as families shared their stories. A mother whose daughter was killed by a drunk driver coming home from college. A father whose son was left paralyzed. A widow whose husband died 3 days before Christmas. Dylan cried through most of it. Afterward, he approached several speakers and apologized, not for his specific case, but for his mindset, forever believing drunk driving was acceptable, for contributing to a culture that treated it like a joke. 9 months after court, Dylan completed his alcohol awareness program. He stopped drinking completely. He transferred from an expensive private graduate school to a state university so he could pay without his father's help. He began volunteering with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, speaking at high schools about his experience. When Dylan finally finished his 300 hours of community service, Frank Martinez shook his hand. You did good, kid. You showed up on time, worked hard, didn't complain. You're not the same guy who started here. Thank you for treating me like everyone else, Dylan said. I needed that. 1 year after the hearing, Dylan's license suspension ended, but he didn't buy another car. He kept riding the bus and realized how much of the city he'd never seen from inside his BMW. He continued volunteering with MAD and started a blog documenting his journey from entitled drunk driver to someone trying to make amends. He also wrote a letter to Judge Caprio. Your Honor, I stood in your courtroom a year ago as one of the most arrogant, entitled people you've probably ever seen. I threatened you. I used my father's name like it was a shield. I thought I was special. You showed me I wasn't, that I was just another person who endangered lives and needed accountability. Thank you for not giving me a break. Thank you for making me serve every hour. For forcing me to face the consequences of my actions. You saved my life by refusing to let me slide. I am not the person I was, and I never want to be that person again. If this story moved you, if you believe judges like Frank Caprio represent the best of our justice system, please support our new channel by subscribing and liking this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear that justice and compassion can exist together. Comment your city below. Let's build a community that believes in fairness for everyone. 2 years later, Dylan Brennan graduated with a master's degree in public policy. His thesis focused on criminal justice reform and the necessity of accountability regardless of status. He took a job at a nonprofit dedicated to preventing drunk driving. His Instagram, once filled with parties and flex posts, now showed volunteer work and recovery. Mayor Brennan completed his term and chose not to seek re-election, saying he wanted to focus on family. He attended every one of Dylan's school presentations, sitting quietly in the back, watching his son tell teenagers about the worst mistake of his life and how close he came to killing someone. Officer Williams was promoted to sergeant and became head of the DUI enforcement unit. He occasionally crossed paths with Dylan at community events, and mutual respect grew. The officer who refused intimidation and the young man who finally learned. Judge Frank Caprio continued his work with fairness and wisdom. A photo on his desk showed a young man in an orange vest picking up trash on a Providence street, finally understanding that the courtroom is the great equalizer, where last names mean nothing and character means everything. The story of Dylan Brennan became a lesson across Rhode Island and beyond. It reminded people that privilege must never protect anyone from consequences, that being the mayor's son doesn't make you special, and that sometimes the greatest gift a parent can give is refusing to save their child from accountability. Dylan entered that courtroom believing he owned the city. He left knowing he was just another citizen, bound by the same laws as everyone else. And in that humbling, in that loss of false importance, he finally became someone worthy of respect. That isn't just justice. That's transformation.